The school bathroom was silent, except for the slow, uneven drip of a leaky faucet. A flickering fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting sickly shadows along the beige-tiled walls. The air was heavy with the sharp, chemical sting of bleach mixed with the faint mustiness of damp mop water. On the floor, knees pressed into the cold, unforgiving tiles, Sophia scrubbed in tight, circular motions, her knuckles whitening from the pressure. Her hair, long, dark, and normally tied in a neat ponytail, was now clinging to her damp forehead. The crisp white blouse of her school uniform stuck to her back, damp with sweat and humiliation. Every few seconds, she would glance down at her reflection in the shallow puddle forming beside her rag. She didn't like the girls staring back. Leaning against the doorway were three boys, their laughter and whispers dripping with the kind of arrogance that came from never having to answer for their actions. Evan, tall with slicked back hair and the casual posture of someone who thought the rules didn't apply to him, watched her like she was entertainment. Marco, shorter but built solidly, crossed his arms and grinned in a way that was more a dare than a smile. Liam, the quietest of the three, tapped his soda can rhythmically against the wall, the metallic click echoing in the small space. "Don't forget the corner by the stalls," Evan drawled, his tone mocking. "You missed a spot." Sophia said nothing. Her jaw tightened, but she kept her head down. She could hear Marco snickering under his breath, whispering something to Liam that made the boy choke back a laugh. What they didn't know, what no one in this school seemed to know, was that Sophia wasn't just a quiet, poor scholarship student. She was a black belt in karate. Not the kind given out after a summer camp course, but the kind earned through years of sweat, bruises, early mornings, and the strict discipline of a seasoned sensei. She had fought opponents twice her size. She had learned how to control fear, how to read a person's movements before they made them. And yet here she was, scrubbing a bathroom floor because three boys thought it would be funny. Before we go further, I want to tell you, Soul Touch Stories is where moments like this come alive. Stories that remind us how courage can spark in the most unexpected places. If you believe in standing up for yourself, in fighting injustice with dignity, make sure you subscribe so you never miss the stories that might just change how you see the world. Sophia's life outside of school had always been a fight, though not the kind fought with fists. Her father, once a strong, proud construction worker, had been crushed under a falling beam 2 years ago. He survived, but the injury left him unable to work, his once powerful hands now trembling when he tried to hold a hammer. Her mother picked up double shifts at the local diner, often coming home after midnight, her apron still smelling faintly of fried food and coffee. Sophia wore her cousin's old uniforms. Her lunch was usually a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in the same reusable bag her mother had washed hundreds of times. She didn't complain. She had karate, and in the dojo, no one cared how much money she had. There, respect was earned through discipline, not wealth. But school was different. Quiet made her a target. Poverty made her easy prey. Today's humiliation had started in the hallway outside the girls' bathroom. Evan had leaned casually against the wall, blocking her way. "Hey, janitor's out sick. You should take care of the bathroom. You're used to cleaning, right?" His voice was syrupy with fake politeness. "I'm going to class," she had said, trying to step around him. Marco moved in, blocking her again. "What's the rush? Come on, just help out." And then Liam had spoken, softly, but with the sharpness of someone who knew exactly where to cut. "Don't worry, we'll make sure everyone knows you're just doing your part." The weight of their stares, the awareness of the hallway emptying as the late bell rang, had pressed on her. She'd stepped inside. They followed. Now, as she scrubbed, she heard the click of a phone camera. She froze. Evan was holding up his phone, smirking as he recorded. "This is gold." That sound, the sharp, artificial click, was the spark. In the wet reflection below her, she saw not the girl they saw, but the one her sensei had trained, the girl who had practiced kata until her muscles ached, who had stood bleeding from the lip but refused to bow out, who had learned to be calm even when her heart thundered in her chest. She set the rag down. Slowly, she pushed herself to her feet. The movement drew their attention instantly. Marco's grin faltered. Liam's soda tapping stopped. "What's this?" Marco said, trying to sound amused but with a note of unease. Sophia's eyes met his, calm but unyielding. "I'm done." Evan laughed. "Done? You missed half the floor." "No," she said quietly, "I'm done letting you treat me like trash." Her voice didn't rise, but it had a weight to it, a stillness that was more intimidating than shouting. Marco stepped forward. "Or what?" It happened so fast that later they wouldn't agree on the exact sequence. Sophia shifted her weight, swept her leg in a precise arc, and Evan was suddenly on his back, soda can rolling away. She didn't pause. When Marco reached out to grab her shoulder, she pivoted, caught his wrist, and twisted just enough to make him drop his grip with a grunt. Liam backed toward the wall, his hands raised. Sophia didn't advance. She stood still, breathing evenly. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said. "But I'm done being silent. You should be too." She stepped past them, the sound of her shoes against the tile louder than the silence they left in her wake. By lunch, the story had spread across the school. Some exaggerated it into a full martial arts movie scene, others whispered in awe. Teachers overheard bits and pieces. The principal called Sophia into his office. She sat stiffly in the chair across from his desk as he cleared his throat. "Sophia, I need to address what happened in the bathroom this morning." She took a breath. "Sir, they've been harassing me for months. I didn't start the fight. I ended the humiliation." He watched her for a long moment before nodding slowly. "We'll investigate. In the meantime, I'm proud you spoke up." It turned out she wasn't the only one. Other students, ones she barely knew, came forward, telling their own stories about Evan, Marco, and Liam. By the end of the week, the boys faced disciplinary action. They didn't try to retaliate. That night, Sophia sat beside her father on their worn couch. The TV hummed in the background, but neither of them paid much attention. "I heard about today," he said finally. His voice was low, thoughtful. "You didn't just fight, Sophia. You stood up. That's the harder thing to do." Her throat tightened. "I didn't want to, but I had to." "That's how you know it was right," he said. "If you've ever had to take that kind of stand, if you've ever faced something that scared you but did it anyway, drop a like, share your experience in the comments, and subscribe to Soul Touch Stories. These are the moments that remind us, strength lives in all of us. In the weeks that followed, Sophia noticed changes. People who had once ignored her now nodded in the hallway. A younger student shyly asked if she could join Sophia's dojo. Even the bullies, though still keeping to themselves, no longer looked at her with mockery. Months later, the principal announced an anti-bullying assembly and asked Sophia to speak. She stood on stage in front of hundreds of faces, some curious, some skeptical, some hiding their own private battles. "I used to think strength meant fighting every battle," she began. "But real strength is knowing when to walk away, and when to stand up. And when you do stand up, do it with respect. Even for the people who don't show you any." The applause started small but grew until it filled the gym. As she stepped down, she caught sight of Evan, Marco, and Liam. They didn't clap. But they didn't look away. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first step toward change.